Hello, welcome to this third video in the Plymouth seascape painting. If you haven't watched the other two videos, please do. You don't have to watch them in order as they're quite self-contained, where I paint the sky and then I paint the sea. But here I'm going to tackle the main buildings. Now these buildings are mostly painted white, and I should imagine with the sun on them in broad daylight they will shine pure white. But here the light levels are very low and the faces of these buildings are away from the setting sun. So I've analysed the colour in a photo editing program, and the lightest white I can find on these buildings is around about 50% grey, which is really quite dark. So I've got to be very careful in not making these buildings too light, as they will stick out and they will look like there's some sort of light source coming from them if you make them too bright, which will ruin the realism. So the plan is to make a good guess at the colours, paint in some basic shapes, and then keep going back for layer after layer, adding more detail each time, as well as adjusting the colours, because you can only really assess the colours when they're next to the other things. Plus, as with the sky and the sea, there will be a final adjustment at the very end when everything's in place. Then you really can see if something's standing out as wrong. The plan with these buildings is to choose an area to work on, pick out the main shapes in that area, ignoring the fine detail, and mix the colour as close as possible and just put it down into those basic shapes. I won't be too worried I've got the colour perfect, as I can assess that when I've put all the shapes in, all the different coloured shapes in that area. Then you can let it slightly dry, and with these alkyds it's probably only 10-15 minutes. Then you can go back with a wash to adjust those colours as necessary, and I will keep doing that constantly after layer. I keep going back to areas I've done before just to adjust here and there, because with these buildings the difference between all the colours in the shade are very subtle and quite awkward to get just right. But let's see how we get on. After those initial basic shapes, I'm now going back over and putting just a little bit of the detail and adjusting the colour of things. Eagle-eyed viewers may have noticed that strange brown blob that has appeared on the bottom left. It took me ages to notice it myself, and it was where, on taking the brush away from the panel into the palette to refresh the paint, I must have just glanced the panel putting that paint down. I tried removing it with a cloth with a little bit of solvent on it, but it wouldn't get rid of it, and it took away some of the sea. So, oh well, never mind. This is the beauty of oils. Things like that can easily be fixed. Also, at the same time, I noticed I'd prematurely put a reflection in the sea of a sign that was actually in the wrong place. So while I'm fixing the mistake in the sea, I can fix that reflection as well. The line where the sea hits the far shore was a bit too wobbly for my liking, and it was starting to annoy me. So I'm taking the opportunity to do some brush ruling to fix it. I hope you can see the idea here. I'm slowly working my way round these buildings, first with the basic simple shapes, letting that slightly dry, and while that's drying I might go into doing some finer detail in the areas I'm further along with. Basically all the time looking at the whole line of buildings, assessing if I've got the colours right, and any extra detail I can add if I happen to have the right colour on the brush at the time. So this is why I dart about a bit, and you just basically keep doing this until you get to the point where you think that's enough. In a real world scene like this, there will be an insane amount of tiny detail, but it's up to you how far you go. I'm now at the point where I think I've done enough on the buildings. I will almost certainly revisit them when the rest of the painting is finished, just to do some final adjustments and maybe one or two little extra bits of detail I've missed. But I don't think it's productive to go any further at this point. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Please watch the next one in this painting, which may be just a time lapse of the whole thing. It depends on whether I think there's anything more I can add to this painting. There is a large tree and some grass and stuff like that, which is a bit different to what I've done so far in this painting, but I have covered that sort of thing many times over. Well, thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. And if you could help the channel out by watching more videos, as it's become apparent to me that the most important thing on a channel is watch time. So goodbye, and I hope to see you on the next video.